Hello guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video I will be reviewing the Superman and Lois Fisk hero pack. Now as you can see here in this hero pack we have a bunch of characters from outside of the series Superman and Lois. Obviously we've got a lot of Superman suits, some Supergirl, some Bizarro, and a lot of other suits. In this video I'll be covering like the main characters from Superman and Lois, so Superman, Bizarro, Steel, and the Arrowverse suits. And if you guys like this video, I might do another about the other suits. Rightio then, let's get started without losing any more time. For starters, we've got obviously the classic Superman and Lois suit. This guy is the main character, obviously in Superman and Lois. Now his first suit that you get when you craft him is a bit dark, but that's because this is a series 4 suit. We have got the other suits like the season 3, the season 1, which I guess is the most classic Superman suit out of all these. We got his OG Flasher suit from the flashbacks. We'll see it a couple of times, I believe. And now we've got the evil Superman from series 1, which we don't really get to see, but, you know. It's actually also the same suit from the Elseworlds crossover, so we also have an identical suit for the Arrowverse one, but, you know, that one's obviously got different heat vision and whatnot. But let's get started with, I think I'll use the season 1 suit. Let's get started with Superman. Now obviously on the top left corner you can see we've got 5 main keybinds for our abilities. The first one is heat vision, which is, yeah, pretty much, you can tell what that is. We've seen this 100 times already. But the different thing about this one is you gotta charge it to use it. So when you press C, it won't instantly shoot. You have to hold it, your eyes will start glowing, and then you will shoot. And once you let go, your eyes will fade back out. So let's check this out on some zombie pigmen if you can. As you can see, it deals 7 damage per tick. Not per tick, I mean per hit. And yeah, it has a cool impact effect. The eyes glow red. The beam is actually accurate to the beam we see in Superman and Lois. And another thing about this is if you're in survival and you're using the beam and you get hit, there's a small chance that your heat vision will disable, and then you will have to charge it back up to be able to use it again. Like I said, it's a small chance, so it won't happen all the time, but yeah, there we go. It will sometimes disable. And also, obviously, Superman being Superman does deal a lot of punch damage, so he will two-shot any one of these guys. Shouldn't have trouble handling them. And always, actually, another thing about this heat vision, if you press your mask key, which is different for everyone, I guess, for me it's right shift, his eyes will start glowing red without actually shooting heat vision. And if you use heat vision while in this state, you won't actually have to, you know, charge your eyes. But the downside to this is, if you get hit, the eyes instantly go out, like 100% chance. Anyway. His second ability would be his super speed. It's pretty basic. He has a running animation. You can increase his speed up to 4 using the suit augmenter, but by default he's at 2, so he can't run on water unless you upgrade the suit. Once you do that, he can. His third ability is Thunderclap, which is... it's not in the base mode, but we've seen it on other hero packs. It's just basically a simple hand Thunderclap, and I keep pressing F6, I should stop doing it. It deals a lot of damage, but it takes a bit to charge. It has a large width. I don't know, it's big, so you won't miss with this. You know, even if you're not looking at the guy, you'll hit him. But I think the downside with this as well is if you get hit while you're charging, oh, it doesn't actually stop. And actually, the Thunderclap has a little bit of a sound aspect to it. So if you use this against someone who's weak to sounds, you will deal slightly more damage. This is actually kinda OP, and especially in close range where it will hit twice and you can one-shot like weaker mobs. Not all the time though. Anyway, his third ability is is Cold Breath and Super Breath. Now when you hold F, you will get this wheel on your screen, and depending on whether if you scroll it up or down, you will start using your Cold or Super Breath. And obviously we got this cool little animation, which also works when you're flying. You also have an oxygen bar, which goes down when you're in space and when you're in underwater. Now this particular iteration of Superman does not need oxygen to survive, but he does need oxygen to use his cold breath. So depending on how long you stay underwater or in space, you will start losing your breath, and after a while you just won't be able to use this ability. So that's just, you know, a small fun fact. The super breath will push back your opponents, and you can also choose how strong your breath is. Obviously, the stronger it is, the more damage it'll deal, and the faster it'll drain your oxygen bar, oxygen meter. So basically, if you want to push someone back, you know, if you want to get rid of them, you want to use your super breath. And if you want to keep someone still, so the exact opposite of what we just did, you want to use your cold breath, which will freeze them in place. And actually, a cool thing about the the cold breath is the longer you use it on someone, the more slowed down they will get. So, for example, if I place this guy down, as you can see, I just hold it there for a bit and he can still walk. Now, this won't be really clear with pigment, but if you're fighting against, let's say, a speedster and you're using your maximum cold breath bar, if the more you use it, the slower they will get. So, you know, that's actually also pretty cool. So, you know, if you want to really stop someone, you should probably freeze them for a bit. And obviously, the more your bar is used, the more effects it will have, which is pretty cool. And other than that, we got super senses. Now, this thing is a little bit unique. You don't really see this in a lot of Heropack from what I can tell. When you hold it, you have to hold it. You can't toggle it. You got your sense abilities, so to speak. Yeah, obviously you can toggle slow motion, or speedster, or, you know, most Superman suits have this. You don't have to hold it. There's a sound effect when you press it. There's also a night vision ability, which won't really be noticeable now, because, you know, it's daytime, but when you press it, it toggles your night vision. And then there's super hearing. When you press F, a sound will play, and if there's anyone or any mob nearby, it will list it in chat. But obviously, no one's here, so if you know, place down a few pigmen, you fly away, we'll be able to hear them. And the cool thing about this is, for vanilla mobs, when it detects a mob, it will actually play their sound, so you will be able to hear, say, for example, a zombie's nose. Let's place him down somewhere where he won't die, but, you know, it's daytime, so they'll probably die anywhere. If you place some zombies here... By the way, it will only detect one of the zombies, it won't detect them all, or else, you know, your whole chat would flood. But obviously, you can hear the zombie, so depending on how many mobs you have here, you might have a lot of noise when you do this, but, you know, you can see them. This also works for players, and the cool thing about players is if you detect a player and they're low on health, it will be highlighted in red and it will say that the player is in distress, which is also, I think, another cool thing. Now, this isn't where Superman's abilities end. Obviously, he can fly. He's got this cool pose, which is the pose he uses the most during the series. And obviously, he's got his boost ability. As you can see, when you press V, he will fly faster. He will also sort of break the sound barrier. The screen will start shaking, and he'll have both of his hands up, because, you know, he's trying to fly faster. Now, when you've got this ability, you won't be able to use heat vision or cold breath. You can only use that when you're in your regular flight. Once you boost, you know, you're so focused on flying, you can't use your abilities, except for the senses, which we have seen Superman do in the show, so it's accurate. Another ability I think I almost missed. If you're holding shift, your super senses will switch up with suit up, which if you press, it will basically take a suit off. So I guess if you wanna, you know, play without the Superman suit, you can do that. You can pose as Clark Kent, and it's got a cool little animation here as well. Honestly, I think it's, you know, I think it looks really good. I like this. Yeah, but the thing to note is, if you're in a proper fight, you probably want to be wearing the suit, because if you'll notice, once you take the suit off, the defense bar will go down a bit. I think you become a tier 8, so you become weaker. Now, Superman has another ability, sort of, I guess, and that is when you fly upwards. You gotta fly up, up and away, all the way up to Y 1024. And now you're almost there. There we go. Now, as you can see, once you get here, you will start absorbing the sun's energy, because, you know, that's where Superman gets his powers from. He will have electricity around him, and his suit will start lighting up yellow, and you will have this bar, which, when it fills up, you will be able to supercharge. So let's fast forward to that. As you can see, now we got the bar full, and now we've also got the ability to supercharge. Now, another thing is, you might change your mind about supercharging. You can fly back down from here, and you'll stop supercharging, and once you punch someone, you'll get rid of all your energy, but, you know, you won't deal that much damage, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. What you should probably do is supercharge, which will get you into your supercharged state, so let's do that. As you can see, you will supercharge and you will have been charged. Your suit will glow and you'll have this bar below, and you will realize you have a few new abilities, so, you know, let's test them out. As you can see, when you're flying, you will have this trail behind you, and when you boost, you'll even have you'll have even more of a trail. You know, it'll be yellow like the sun, and you'll be extremely fast. I think you're like 40% faster in this mode, and the more you fly while boosted, the more your Earth Smash ability will charge. As you can see on the top left, I think you used to be able to use it at like 50%, and it would just, you know, be a weaker Earth Smash, but that's not the case anymore. You have to get it all the way up to 100%, like Superman does in the show. After he supercharges, he has to fly around the world and, you know, build up some momentum and then use the ability. So there we go, we've flown, I think, enough, and now it's at 100%. We will use that in a bit, but before we do that, I want to showcase the Solar Flare ability, which is pretty much what Superman does. In this show, Solar Flare is pretty much regular heat vision. Let's test it out. As you can see, it's a lot stronger, and you can hear the characters screaming. You do a bit more damage. You do 11 damage. That's honestly a lot more damage. It takes a bit to charge, but it's a lot more aggressive. Yeah, okay, and we just ran out of Supercharge. Right, so I've actually gone ahead and supercharged again, so I can showcase the remainder of his supercharged abilities. Let's fly down. Also, by the way, I just noticed you can use a solar flare. Wait, no, never mind. You can't. I was going to say you can use a solar flare on your, you know, supercharged flying, but you can't. But you can use this cold breath and super breath, so, you know, there's that. Let's charge up the Earth Smash. There we go, it's charged. I'm going to spawn in a bunch of zombie pigmen. I was going to spawn in zombies, but they'll just die anyway, so let's spawn in a bunch of these guys. And use our Earth Smash ability. Whoa! Yep, that was not smart. Well, as you can see, they all died. Well, that's graphic. In the square, so yeah. And he's got his cold breath abilities, and yep, the supercharge is gone. So another thing about the supercharge is when you're supercharged and you hit Parasite's Ellie Alston, well, Ellie Alston's Parasite, or Parasite Ellie Alston, she will take significantly more damage. So, you know, even though she's like the most powerful suit, she's at tier 10. The way to stop her is, you know, her kryptonite, so to speak, is a supercharged kryptonian. Yeah, let me fix that. Right, so I just realized I don't have World Edit, and I'm not gonna fill that in by hand, so I've decided that I will be ignoring this giant hole for the remainder of this review, if we can even call it that at this point. But yeah, That was his supercharged abilities, I guess. And yeah, he does deal more damage to Parasite. That's Parasite's Kryptonite. Now we got another couple of special things. So when you land with Superman, you get this cool landing, which is how he lands in the series. And when you land while boosting, you'll actually have another crash landing animation, which I didn't do correctly, so it didn't happen. As you can see, ground will shake, there'll be an explosion effect, and it'll be a different animation altogether compared to the other one. So I'm pretty sure that's all Superman has. Oh, and he's able to fly to the moon. Yeah, if you fly all the way up to, I believe, Y2000, you will be instantly teleported to the moon, and you can come back to the overworld if you fly all the way up to Y2000 up there as well, which I won't do now, but you know, you can do that. And I've already mentioned you lose oxygen when you're there, and you'll eventually lose your powers. Oh yeah, he does have some other stuff that he can do. For example, when his durability of his chest piece goes a bit too down, I believe below like 250, I am going to do that now with a mod I have here. Right, as you guys can see, I just edited its MBT and gave it a bit more damage, and you'll notice that the cape is now a bit torn. Now this works for every other ult, they'll have torn capes. And the thing is, if the durability goes down even higher, let's do that as well. There we go. Hold on, that's not it. That's it. Let's say 1000 damage. So when you're close to breaking the suit, the cape will disappear altogether. So if you want to recreate, well, I guess Superman's outfit from when he's fighting Doomsday, you can do that. You will lose your cape as you're about to break the suit. So that's another interesting detail. It works with all his ults, by the way. No need to show it for them all. They'll have torn capes and whatnot. And let's take a clearer look at his other ults as well. As you can see, they're not all too that different, you know, except for these ones, I guess. It's pretty cool. I think they all also have the same suit ability. Oh yeah, this guy has a different animation, because that's what they do in the Arrowverse. That's how his animation works. He just sort of runs away and comes back. We see that in Crisis on Infinite Earths, I'm pretty sure. Right, Superman still has a few more abilities though. Or, you know, features, let's call them. For example, if you hold Kryptonite, or if someone who's holding Kryptonite punches you, someone who's holding Kryptonite and someone who also, you know, comes with Kryptonite or is affected by Kryptonite. So if someone would say a random suit from another hero pack hits you with Kryptonite, this won't work. But if someone, you know, who's affected by Kryptonite or has Kryptonite as their weaponry hits you with it, you will get Kryptonite poisoning. Same if you hold it. Now, since we don't have any other players here, I will be showing off Kryptonite poisoning by holding Kryptonite itself. Now, when you have Kryptonite poisoning, you won't be able to fly, you'll lose some of your powers, you'll start taking fall damage, you'll also take more damage, and you will deal less damage overall. Let's see how much damage I do. I do 6 now. And I do take a lot of damage. As you can see, that golem's not gonna kill me. He would kill me if, you know, I didn't use my heat vision. So you get significantly weaker. And once you let go of the Kryptonite shard, you will get your powers back. So that's a pretty cool thing. You can also get Kryptonite poisoning from Lieutenant Anderson's Kryptonite weaponry, and if someone breaks a Kryptonite inhaler on you, which is something that Lana can do. They can choose to break their Kryptonite inhalers on you, and you will take more damage, and you'll also get a bit of Kryptonite poisoning. Now, we have different types of Kryptonite. We've also got X Kryptonite, so when you're holding this, you will regenerate slightly faster, although, you know, not that much faster. As you can see, I'm regenerating a bit faster. And it is possible that you do more damage when you're holding that. No, actually you deal less damage because it counts as a weapon. But it does the Kryptonite damage, so you know you will deal more damage to creatures or characters that are weak to Kryptonite, such as Bizarro and Doomsday. Now, to get Kryptonite shard is actually you have to wear Parasite. You have to hold a regular Kryptonite shard and use energy protection, which will turn it into Kryptonite shard. And you might ask, well, how do I get a Kryptonite shard? Well, Kryptonite shard is default equipment for Steel and Deadline we have over there. It's also equipment for him. So yeah, there are those. Now there is also something else Superman can do, which is to consume, well, I don't want to say the word, medicine is what we can call it. He can actually use Kryptonite inhalers, which come as equipment for Lieutenant Mitchell Anderson. They regenerate every 30 seconds or so, so if you wait for a bit for here, he will get another one. He can use this, he can break this on someone's head, which I'll showcase later, I guess. Or alternatively, as you can see, we just got another one, he can give it to someone else. Say, for example, Superman. And once Superman consumes this by pressing B, as you can see, he will temporarily gain more strength, so he will deal a bit more punch damage. Nothing too crazy. I think that's about it, actually. But you should be careful about using this, because once you use too many of these, I believe the recommended usage is below 5, you will start getting visual side effects. You will notice that you get headaches and your eyes will become permanently red. So I wouldn't recommend it. And if you do use too much of these, in order to clear that out of your system, I would recommend you go up to the sun and supercharge. That should clear up the side effects and turn you back into normal. Or else you will become like Bizarro, which you shouldn't want to do. Now, for the next suit, we have Steel, who is basically Superman's Iron Man. And in the series, well, he has a suit. He flies, as you can see, he's got this cool animation, these boosters, and he can fly as fast as Superman. As you can see, he doesn't have a boost, but you know, he already flies fast to begin with. He also has a landing animation, as you can see. His first ability is aim. Now, his aiming actually has two different modes. When you scroll, he has red solar blasts and yellow solar blasts. Obviously, this suit was originally designed to counter Kryptonians, or, you know, Superman to be more specific. So his default fire is a red solar, well, blast. So this will deal increased damage to Kryptonians. Now, I don't have any Kryptonians to test this on, but I guess you'll have to take my word for that. And actually, another fun fact about this is if you hit an inverse Kryptonian with this, such as Bizarro or Jonal or Lana or I guess the Doomsdays, it will give them health. So it will heal them. So you shouldn't do that. What you should do for them is scroll up and use the yellow solar blast, which will similarly heal regular Kryptonians. So yeah, be careful which one you use. And I'm pretty sure that one of these blasts, I think the red one, also heals zombies. Yeah, while the other one damages zombies, you know. So maybe they're also inverse humans? I don't know. Now his second ability is his super speed, which activates his jets. Pretty basic, pretty much like Superman, just runs fast. His third ability is sonic propulsion, which I guess is like Superman's thunderclap, although a bit weaker. It pushes people away, and I'm pretty sure it does deal more damage to people who are weak to sonic attacks, such as Kryptonians. Now his fourth ability is the sentry mode. You just leave the suit and it attacks whatever you want it to attack. Also, another cool thing, when you hit the suit, or when you get hit while wearing the suit, sun will play, because, you know, you're in a metal suit. I guess it makes sense. You can always take off the helmet by R-Shift too, by the way. That's also pretty cool. And the fourth ability, the fifth ability is to call hammer. You call your hammer. No, it's not Mjolnir, it's his kinetic hammer that he uses in the series. And there's a couple of things you can do with the hammer. Obviously, with the hammer, you'll always deal more damage. You'll deal like almost twice as much damage. You can charge kinetic energy with your hammer and then release it, which doesn't have a great range, but if you charge it and if you punch someone, you'll still deal more damage. So yeah, there is that. Another thing you can opt to do with your hammer is to just throw it. As you can see, it charges up and you just throw your hammer. You pull it back and then you can throw it back, and it has a cool animation where it flies. Yeah. And then he has his equipment, which, as we've discussed before, is a kryptonite shard. Pretty cool. Also, another thing to note about Steel is he's weak to sound. Extremely weak to sound, in fact. So you could kill him very easily with someone like Onomatopoeia, or I forgot her name, Silver Banshee, or I guess any canary. He'll be really weak to them. Also, he can leap, because he does that in the series. Yeah, I remember that. He's also got an ult from the series finale with his Superman logo and his Superman cape. That's also pretty cool. I think I prefer this one. I don't know. It's pretty basic. I mean, he was only, you know, we only saw this suit for like, what, 30 seconds? Probably much less. Anyway, the next hero we have is Supergirl. Supergirl also has a few suits, and I believe she can use kryptonite inhalers as well. I'm pretty sure every regular Kryptonian can. It makes you more powerful. She's got her regular Series 1 suit. She's got her test suit, which slippers, or I don't know, regular shoes. And she's missing the crest. We see that in the first episode. And we've got her Overgirl suit from Crisis on Earth X. Yeah, pretty cool. I like the cape on this one. I like how it's like red on the inside. Anyway, we'll be using the final suit. So her heat vision is a bit different. Her eyes glow up orange instead of red, and she has different sound effects and different effects. The blue heat vision being the most prominent one. She also has different sound effects, you know, more accurate to the Arrowverse or Prime sound effects, as you can see. Now the thing about these ones, also our Thunderclap is a bit different because they were different. Anyway, the thing about these suits is they can't supercharge. So if you want to supercharge, you want to get one of the CW suits. Now we've also got Superman, who is pretty much the same as Supergirl. Obviously he's got heat vision. I think that these Supermen actually deal less damage. See, they deal 10.5, I believe, while this Superman deals 13. That can't be right. He deals 13 damage, which is, yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, so they're weaker, but they're also easier to craft compared to these guys who require another star. So yeah, but you know, they're a nice alternative if you're looking for a cheaper Superman suit who, you know, still function as a full-on Kryptonian. Yeah, I believe Supergirl is a bit faster and stronger than Superman, but like ever so slightly. So like, I'm pretty sure Superman has a bit more health because he's larger. It shouldn't really matter, but you know, if you want to nitpick, Supergirl is a bit stronger. Now, another suit we got that I really like is Bizarro. Now, Bizarro, if you don't know, is usually a failed clone of Superman, but in the series, he's actually from the Inverse world, which is also an origin in the comics. But, well, basically, this guy comes from this parallel universe where the Kryptonian powers are inversed, and, you know, he's taken a bunch of, let's say, medicine. So, his skin has gotten pale, and he isn't really a hero anymore, so his suit is a lot older. Well, let's start with his abilities. As you can see, his eyes are already glowing blue, so he doesn't actually need to charge his cold vision much. You just press it, and it pretty much instantly works. It also slows down enemies, and deals less damage than what a heat vision would. But not that much damage, still much stronger than the cold breath, I think. It's got this really cool sound effect that's taken straight out from the series, by the way. And he's also got Thunderclap, same as Superman. Super Speed, also same as Superman. But this time his R-Shift ability actually disables his head twitches, which you've probably already seen. He sometimes twitches his head. Pressing R-Shift disables that, and pressing it again enables that with a cool sound effect. Now his main difference, I would say, is his heat breath, which you can also use as super breath. Yeah, because we've seen where Kryptonians use their super breath in the series. Now the way heat breath works, you just scroll it and then charges up. Now the lower the dial is, the less damage and the smaller your heat breath will be. As you can see, that's the first level. That's the second level. There's like a little blue thing in his mouth. That's also how it is in the series. And the third one is the most powerful one. Just deals a lot of damage. Also, I'm pretty sure that the sound effects for these are also taken straight from the series. As you can see, deals a bunch of damage. And this guy, unlike Superman, is weak to X-Kryptonite. And Kryptonite actually makes him regenerate faster. So that's a cool thing. If you get X-Kryptonite, he will start getting X-Kryptonite poisoning. If he gets hit by X-Kryptonite weaponry, such as, I guess, Anderson's inhalers, or these Kryptonite gauntlets, which I totally forget about, he will start getting X-Kryptonite poisoning and will over time lose his powers, much like Superman. He can also use Kryptonite inhalers taken from Lana's equipment, and as you can see, if you consume that, he becomes more powerful. Now, I wouldn't condone using unprescribed medicine under any circumstances, but this guy's already used it plenty, so he doesn't get any side effects. Unlike Superman, this guy can use them to his heart's content, and he's actually also able to supercharge. Did you guys know about that? He would need to supercharge under a red sun. Yeah, and obviously you guys just realized what I meant by a red sun. The closest thing we have to a red sun in the mod, or in the game, is the boost. He's twitching for whatever reason. And we get all the way up to Y1024. As you can see, he will start supercharging, much like Superman, which I wouldn't really do myself, because you would have to travel to the Nether, unless if you're already in the Nether, in which case you could supercharge here, I guess. Otherwise, it would take you a while. Now it's the same as in the series. Now, I have said that the Nether is considered as a planet with red sun, but I don't think it affects regular Kryptonians negatively. And we just supercharged. He's got his own effects, and you'll notice differently, he's got an Arctic flare, which is not really a thing in the comics, I'm pretty sure. We don't see Bizarro supercharge or anything like that. He doesn't have a cool charging animation, but he does deal a lot of damage. Honestly, that's quite powerful. Yeah, so if you wanted to, you could supercharge Bizarro. Right, so that is Bizarro, and if I haven't mentioned already, instead of another star, it costs an enchanted golden apple to craft them. So, yeah, since it's like the inverse, I guess the inverse of another star is an enchanted golden apple. Because, why not? He's also got two ults. He's got an ult with the pendant, which is, I think it was the Oblivion Stone. in the series. He wore that for like a few episodes. You know, it has a cool glow. I think it looks cooler when it's nighttime. As you can see, it actually shines. Pretty cool. Nothing else. He's also got his normal suit, which is basically the season 1 Superman suit, except, you know, it's reversed, the cape is torn, and the belt is a bit darker. This is the Bizarro suit we see in his flashbacks. Spoiler alert. I guess the spoiler alert was a bit too late, but anyway, the show's been over for a while now. You had your chance to watch it. So I do want to showcase a few more suits while I'm here. We'll just blast through them. First of all, there's Jonal. Jonal's got cold vision, now differently to the Bizarro. He isn't actually sick, so he actually has to charge his cold vision. Has a cool sound effect. Besides that, his abilities are pretty much the same as Bizarro's. You know, he's got super hearing, super speed, although he is noticeably weaker and slower, you'll notice. And I'm pretty sure he's also tier 8, whereas the other Superman and Bizarros are all tier 9. The Superboy suits are tier 8s, so this guy also costs an enchanted golden apple to make, so honestly, if you got an enchanted golden apple, like if you're gonna spend one, I would recommend making Bizarro, just saving up a few more Tetrurium gems, but he is cheaper than Bizarro. I'm pretty sure this guy can supercharge as well. Yep, I just got to the nether roof and he can supercharge, but I believe that supercharging makes this guy sick. Let's see. Oh, that's apparently not the case anymore. He can supercharge. In the older versions, he would actually start losing health when he was supercharged, which is no longer the case. He's got Arctic Flare. I wonder how much damage that does. 12, so I think it's still weaker than Bizarro supercharge, but yeah, he can supercharge, which makes sense given that he costs an enchanted golden apple, where suits that can't supercharge do not cost that. So that's the distinction they make. Right, so let's get on with the next suit. The next suit is Superboy. This is Jordan and Jonathan's suit, even though initially Jonathan was the one who wore the suit. Sorry, Jordan was the one who wore the suit. Jonathan also used the suit, and yeah, that's why it's their suit. They shared it for a while. And he's pretty much like Superman. He doesn't cost another star. He's cheaper. He's noticeably much slower. He deals less damage, less punch damage. I believe he flies much slower as well. Yeah. So he's weaker. He's a lot weaker. But the different thing is his power isn't actually Kryptonian physiology. His power is human Kryptonian hybrid physiology, which means that Kryptonite does not affect him the same way it does Superman. So he's less weak to Kryptonite. You could say that. So I guess if someone's got Kryptonite around, that might be the suit you want to use. And he's got his 2 ults from the season finales. That's Jordan's suit, I believe, which I have not unlocked. It also needs to be unlocked via achievements. So I'll switch to creative mode. As you can see, this is Jordan's suit, and I'll just time to stay here. This is Jonathan's suit. Once again, pretty much a clone of Superman, but weaker. And speaking of clones of Superman, we've also got the Superman of America, who are, I believe, yeah, metahuman Kryptonians in the series. There is also a female variant of the suit. They're pretty much identical to Superboy, except, you know, they're more weak to Kryptonite, so if you were gonna make one, I would suggest making Superboy. But if you like their suit, I guess you can use that, as you can see. It's pretty much identical to Lana's suit. That's the way it is in the series. So yeah. Then there is also Tal-Rho. Tal-Rho now, I believe, is a bit stronger than Superman. Or not. I don't know. I guess they have the same stats. Yeah. He has all the same abilities as Superman, except for his supercharge. He has a different supercharged state. He actually becomes the Eradicator in the series. He spends some time around the sun, gathers some powers. As you can see, his charging is a bit different. And then he uses the Eradicator device to become the Eradicator, and he gets some new powers, such as force field and some weird blasts from his hands. I'm not sure how all that worked. And, you know, his supercharged state isn't as flashed out as Superman's is, but you know, it's different, so I guess it's worth noting. It's not just a copy of Superman's supercharged powers. And as you can see, now we will supercharge. It's the same so far. You know, he's supercharged, so he's got his supercharged effects, but he also becomes the Eradicator. So, you know, he's got a little bit of a glow. It's blue. He's also got a solar flare, much like Superman. Except his beam is more calm, I guess. He can run faster, but instead of Super Breath, he's got an Eradicator beam, as you can see. Now, I think it just deals damage, but I remember in the series it would also heal, so I'm not sure exactly how this works. I think it's just a beam that deals damage. And he's got a force field, which he also does have in the series, and they have to use Steel's hammer to break his shield, because it was just that strong. And you can use the Eradicator beam with the force field, which is kind of strong, I guess. Oh, you can use all his abilities. That's crazy. Yeah, he's powerful like that. And after that, we've got the Supergirl Bizarro, which I think looks really cool. I really like this one. She's basically a darker version of the Supergirl Season 1 suit. She's got this sort of monsterish pose. Her abilities are also pretty much the same as Supergirl's, except, you know, she's got cold vision, slows opponents down, and she's got heat breath, which is the same as Bizarro's, regular Bizarro's heat breath, except that it's a bit weaker, I believe, and, you know, it doesn't have the same visual effects, it doesn't have the blue parts. So, yeah. And now we have got two more Kryptonian-ish powers here. I'll start with Lana. So Lana's basically an inverse Kryptonian, but not really. She gets her powers from medicine, which we will have to wait for, I guess, because it spawns in every so often. If you wait for a bit, there we go. We got one. You get a Kryptonite inhaler, and once you consume... Oh, she jumps up really high. That's weird. Okay. Oh, she jumps high when she's got the inhaler. That's interesting. Anyway, once you consume the Kryptonian vial, you will turn it into an empty inhaler, which becomes useless, and you will temporarily get inverse Kryptonian powers. Yeah, the exact same as Jonal's powers, except, you know, they're temporary, so she's also, I guess, cheaper to craft, you know, especially compared to Bizarro, but does require some touch rights, so you need to get to the quantum dimension, or the quantum realm, sorry. Now, one other thing you can do with her is you can take the inhaler out and you can just smack that on someone's head and it will break. As you can see, it will turn into a broken inhaler, which will also be useless. And if you break that on a Kryptonian, it'll deal increased damage. Yeah, so that's another cool thing she does. And then there's also Lutun, which you'll understand, who is... By the way, she doesn't have Thunderclap, I believe, right? When she's consumed the inhaler. Which is... Might be because they're less trained with their powers, I guess. They've got super senses, though. And Lieutenant Mitchell Anderson has got an Kryptonite inhaler, which works the same way. And you can stack up on these and consume them to get temporary powers. But differently from Lana, he's got some Kryptonite weaponry, like a Kryptonite pistol and a Kryptonite rifle, which both deal significantly increased damage to Kryptonians, while they heal inverse Kryptonians. So yeah, if you're fighting Bizarro, you want to be smacking your inhalers on them, not using your Kryptonite weaponry, obviously. And I believe his crafting recipe is, yeah, really confusing, but come on, he's got OP weaponry. You know, no one else has these. Right, so that's all the Kryptonians, I believe. We got some other suits in the pack, but oh, there's also Doomsday. I don't wanna make this video too long. I think it's already like an hour long. I really stretched out the content with Superman. So yeah, I might make a second video covering the other suits, and they also have cool powers as well. So, and you know, depending on how well this video does and if people actually want to see me showcase these characters, because they also have some interesting powers that aren't really known, I will make another video. But for now, I think we are done. So see you all later.